What's up, everybody? I'm B-True, and today, as you can see, we've got the Earth Main. So I'm going to be making a complete guide for the Earth Main as far as teams that you can use from level 1 up to level 95, free to play, pay to win, the whole thing. So I've already made one of these guides for the Lightning Main and the Fire Main. I will leave links to those down in the description if you're interested in them. So what I'm going to do with this, like I said, I'm going to give you a full breakdown of pretty much every viable team that you can use with the Earth Main throughout the entire game. So after making the Fire Main video, the Earth Main got the most requests, so I'm doing the Earth Main. I will eventually be making the Water Main and the Wind Main as well, so that way I'll have a guide for all of the mains. Alright, so also don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that way you don't miss any of the future guides that do end up coming out. So, the Earth Main. Now, what is the Earth Main good at? The Earth Main is good at being two things. He's very good at being a tank, obviously. He's also very good at being a support character. Now, what this does is this makes the Earth Main very strong in the low levels, so like right in the beginning of the game. Sort of average to weak in the middle section of the game, probably levels 60s, 70s kind of. But then he becomes, again, very, very strong in the late game, if not quite possibly the strongest character at the higher levels with the better ninja. So, very good in the beginning, very good at the high levels, kind of average in the middle here. And the reason for that, because of this. So, in the beginning of the game, you've got your Earth Style Stone Fist Jutsu, which causes interruption. Very strong early in the game to have interruption, because if you can cancel an opponent's mysteries, you can pretty much win easily in the early games, because you don't have a lot of access to a bunch of overpowered ninjas, so it's kind of very reliant on mystery skills early on in the game. So having this interruption is very important. Also, you have this skill here, which actually does a lot of damage and also generates shields. Early in the game, there aren't a ton of ways to deal with shields and really tanky characters, because you just don't have the roster of ninja to take care of that yet. So that's what makes him so strong early in the game. Also, on top of that, when he unlocks this steel body passive right here, all of a sudden he cannot be comboed, which, again, like I said, early in the game, that's super, super strong, because you don't have characters with a lot of attack and a lot of ninjutsu. People's power aren't really high enough yet to kill characters quickly just through basic attacks. So you have a very, very solid tank, and then what that allows you to do is you can add healing or damage to the whole rest of your lineup, because your main character is going to be your tank. Okay, so that's a little quick explanation for how the Earth Main works in the early game. So when you first start off, there are a couple things that you can do, right? So like I said, your Earth Main is very tanky once you get this steel body passive right here. Before the steel body, not too tanky. If you're using the Earth Style Super Stone Fist Jutsu, you're a little bit tanky because you're generating a shield for yourself. You also have... So you can increase your defense with this bottom force here, and then you can... so you're not going to have access to those yet. So you're only a little tanky when you first start before you get this steel body. So what I would recommend doing is go with one of the two early tanks that you get. You can either go with Hinata or Neji, okay? Those are like your two beginning tanks that you get. Until you get the steel body passive, have a tank in front of your main character, and what you can do is you can use your main character as your interruption. So if you go with Neji, use Earth Style Super Stone Fist Jutsu, because Neji can cause acupuncture with his mystery every 2 rounds. So every 2 rounds you can cause acupuncture, and acupuncture generally lasts about 3 rounds. So you can actually start layering acupuncture across the enemy team. So put Neji in the front row, and then use your main character in the middle row here with this Earth Style Stone Fist Jutsu, okay? If you are going to use Hinata, I would say you could still use Super Stone Fist Jutsu unless there is somebody who you need to cancel their mystery in the first round. If there's somebody that you fight who you have to cancel their mystery in the first round, use Earth Style Stonefist Jutsu. Otherwise, I'd say stick with this Super Stonefist Jutsu, because what you can do is you can get the acupuncture through Hinata's chase. So Hinata is the tank that I generally recommend to everybody when you are first starting the game, because she's so important. The first turn, she pretty much doesn't take any damage, okay? Already really important right there. She has a chase that causes acupuncture, which you can get off every single round, which means if you know how the opponent's going to use their mystery skills, you can cancel their mystery every single round, okay? Also very important. Plus, she has scaling defense and resistance, which makes her tankier as the game goes on, okay? So you got these two characters right here. Now, what you can put around them, right? If you do the recharge event in the beginning of your server, Aruka is always a great ninja to use early, okay? Aruka gives your team the shields. He also has an interruption, so especially if you have Aruka, you're going to want to use, you don't need another interruption in your team. Okay, so you've got Aruka is going to give you shields, and then you can just put whoever in the background. With this team, I would recommend putting in a Sakura, because you're going to have plenty of damage, you're going to have a bunch of crowd control. All you really need is healing. So you put in Sakura into this team, if I can spell her name. Just like this, boom, you're good. You could also switch those two, something like that. If you needed somebody or to cancel a higher priority mystery, you could use Aruka there. Otherwise, you can leave him in action 3, because you're going to end up canceling the mystery with Hinata's chase if you get to go first. So that's what you can do very, very early into the game, right? Now, when you get... when you unlock Yamato, you can use Yamato for his barrier. Now, his barrier gives the 40% increased attack and ninjutsu for Earth-style units, okay? So if you wanted to go with a damaging main character, you could use Yamato. Yamato himself, really, he's very lackluster. He's just really not all that good. I wouldn't necessarily recommend using Yamato. What you can do once you... So this lineup will be great for a while. If you don't have Aruka, another character that you could use Sasuke, just because he has a bunch of chases and he causes ignition. So the debuffs are going to help as well, since you already have a pretty tanky team with healing. You could also go with Naruto just to add all the clones. Again, more tankiness, but you might be lacking damage a little bit. So a character that you could add in for damage early on, let's see here, who would be a good one? I mean, you could add Kiba, although again, he's sort of like a tank. I would say Lee, either Lee or Guy would probably be your best options. So for this early one, I would say go with Guy, just because here's Guy. I would say go with Guy because Guy gives you the lifesteal onto your team, and because you have because you're not using him as the tank, you're gonna add that lifesteal that'll help you out with the team. If you have enough healing with Sakura, use Lee, because Lee's going to give you a little bit extra damage since he gets to attack a couple times, and he increases his combo rate with all that good stuff. So, okay, so that's like your good starting team right there, right? So then, once you get to the point where you can use Steel Body, now all of a sudden you can use your main character as your main tank, okay? So at this point, now he is your tank. What you can do is you can just fill damage and healing and crowd control behind him. Okay, so again, you could go with something like Guy Sensei. If you go with Guy, you don't really need to add a healer onto this team, because so as you're using this Super Stone Fist Jutsu, you're going to be generating a shield for your team as well as yourself. Plus you've got Steel Body, so you're going to be super, super tanky. So at this point, you're going to be trying just to add more damage onto your team. You'll have plenty of healing and you'll have your shields, so you'll be good there. So then you could also, what you could do is you could add Lee in with Guy. You could add these two, because these three characters actually synergize pretty well with their they all have the Lotus, which causes ignition onto the enemy, so you can layer the debuffs with them. So then the other thing you'd be missing with this would be some form of acupuncture or immobilize in your chase. So something that you could do, if you have Great Ninja War Neji, because they give him away, use Great Ninja War Neji as well, because what he's going to end up doing is he'll use, one, he does knockdown to high float, which helps out this combo, because you can do high float to knockdown with the primary lotus, and then knockdown to high float, which is going to give you the acupuncture, and then another knockdown or high float to knockdown down there. So if you have him, he will work. Again, you could leave Hinata into your team. However, I think you could do a little bit better. So what you could end up doing is, okay, so let's see here. What about Immobilize? Shikamaru, maybe. I don't know. I don't really like that too much. You might be, without Hinata early on, you might be missing some crowd control into your team. So if that's the case, what you would end up doing is I would just add healing, because this team's going to have plenty of damage between these three characters here. So again, you could go with Sakura, or you could go with Kabuto. Kabuto was my preferred healer, just because, one, he adds those clones, which ends up taking some damage away from other characters, but then he also heals 2 people. So a lot of times I recommend Kimimaru, because he is your tank. However, you don't need to worry about that with this lineup, because you have a tank in your main character here. So as long as you're using Steel Body, then you can use him as your tank. If you want to use another tank, like let's say you want to stick with Hinata as your tank, or maybe you want to switch to using Kimimaru as your tank. At that point, what you can do is you can use your main character to buff them as well as do damage. So like I said, he's a very strong tank. He's a very strong support character. So at that point, what you can end up doing is use this Earth-style Petrifying Jutsu, because then he's going to be generating the shield for your tank every turn. So let's say you, for some reason, you needed to put Kimimaru into your lineup, right? Okay, so we've got Kimimaru. One thing that I always recommend with Kimimaru is, where did Kabuto go? There he is to put Kabuto into your lineup, right? So Kabuto is going to give Kimimaru lifesteal after the 3.0 changes. That's going to make him tankier. You've got your main character constantly giving him shields with this Earth-style Petrifying Jutsu. And then another thing you can do is you can use this defense knowledge here. So you can use Earth-style Boulder Jutsu to give him a big shield on the beginning. However, I think it is more important, especially if you're going to use Kimimaru, somebody who is a scaling tank, to use the defense knowledge, because it gives him increased resistance and defense. And then he's going to keep scaling every time he gets hit, and he's eventually going to scale to the point where he doesn't die, and you've got this perma shield on him pretty much. So then use whatever chase you can use anytime you can. So the only one of the Earthmane's chases that causes any kind of additional status is his primary lotus with the ignition. Anytime you can use that chase, because you want to stack ignition as much as possible in any fight. Like, ignition's a very, very strong debuff to have on the enemy. So anytime you can add debuff to your team, use that. So you'd have like a defense knowledge, find a way to get primary lotus in there. I don't care how you do it. Earth-style Petrifying Jutsu. Now, you could use the Earth-style Stonefist Jutsu with this team, because you don't have any acupuncture or crowd control in it. So you could use that if you had to get rid of somebody's mystery on the enemy team. So that is an option. Another option is you could go with the Unkillable team and go with Earth-style Super Lightened Boulder Jutsu. Because then what that's going to do is that's going to allow Kabuto to heal twice per turn. So you've got 2 times lifesteal on Kimimaru, 2 heals and 2 debuffs removed by Kabuto. You know, pretty much get to the point where this team isn't going to die. And then I would say for this lineup to use Pose of Duel, because as you keep generating that shield for Kimimaru, it's going to increase his ninjutsu and his attack. So he's going to have scaling, resistance, and defense, and he's going to have increased ninjutsu and attack. You're basically buffing Kimimaru to the point where he is a monster, right? So at this point, he's going to be your damage. You've got a support character, a healer. So another thing, you would just probably want to add a little bit more damage to the team. Again, you can go back with Guy. You can go with Lee. You can go with Sasuke if you want to add that the ignition to your team. This is, again, for still a pretty early style team. You could add Itachi, because Itachi's going to give you the ignition as well, and he has a little bit of crowd control with his sleeping. It's a possibility. It's something that you could maybe work with. So, yeah, okay. Now, if you get any of the pains, use the pains. If you get Gakido, use Gakido. Gakido is really, really strong. If you put in Gakido, use your Earthmane as your tank, and then just put in damage in here, because Gakido does a fair amount of damage for being a support character. So you put in Gakido, you put in your Earthmane, and then you add damage behind them. Like, that's a very, very solid team, right? Use your Steel Body, make him super tanky. You can use Gakido, one, to remove the debuffs, but then you can also use him to generate the shield. So you can constantly keep shielding up your main character, and then you could either go with the Lighten Boulder Jutsu in order to use Gakido's removing of the debuffs more often, or I would say probably go with Earth-style Super Stone Jutsu so that you can get the damage, but then also the extra shields from that as well. And then put in damage behind him, Guy Sensei, Lee, Sasuke, like whatever you can find. You don't have a lot of damage options early in the game, which kind of can be an issue for the Earthmane. However, a very good choice is Kankuro. So you can use... If you put Kankuro in the third row with the Earthmane in the first row, Kankuro's puppet will go in the second row and actually be shielded by the Earthmane. So Kankuro can get his puppet attack off every single turn. And one, it's going to be causing a lot of debuffs, but then also it's going to be starting combos. So that is something you can do for damage early on. And then you could replace him with any of the other lineups that I showed before. If you didn't want to use Guy and Lee, you could use like Guy, Kankuro, Kabuto, or Sasuke or Sakura as your healer, right? So the Pain's always a good idea, especially Gakido for this lineup. And then Kankuro is always a very good idea for damage. Great Ninja War Kankuro, if you have him, use that one instead. He's a little bit better than normal Kankuro. All right, so that should just about take us... if you get Gaara as well, use Gaara. You can end up having... You can have two guys with super armor in the front row there, and it's going to be extremely annoying. Or, again, like I said, you could use your Earthmane for more damage and go with the Hurricane, the Konoha, I can't speak right now. Konoha Hurricane to like attack the whole front row. You've got Gaara generating shields, so you can go with that, or you could go with the double tank with damage in the background, or maybe like one damage and a healer. Kind of depends on how you're feeling there. One thing you can do with this, if you have your character in the front and you don't need him to be super tanky because you have another tank as well, I would definitely recommend using Bottom Force, because that gives you the scaling attack. So you can scale every time you get hit, and you're not going to be taking too much damage since you have Steel Body. You're going to be scaling every time you get hit, and that's going to give you a bunch of extra damage. However, what you could do is you could go with Earth Style Enhancement and then Guidance. Oh, you're not going to have Guidance at that level. Never mind. Forget that I said that. That's you're not going to unlock Guidance until a lot later. So, okay. Now, that is pretty much it from the early ninja that you're going to have access to. Kurenai is also a really good option because she reflects debuffs, and debuffs are pretty much the only weakness of the Earthmane when you're using him as a tank, unless you have a lot of healing on your team. So Kurenai would be actually a really good option as your healer, because she's going to reflect the debuffs, plus her mystery generates shield and recovers a great amount of life. So she'd actually be a really good option as well. You could use her with like Guy and maybe Sakura or Kabuto, and that'd be a really strong team right there. Yeah, that's looking like that's going to be about it for the early ninja. All right, so now at this point, we talked about the Pains. If you get the Pains, use the Pains. Like, that's just early game. Pains are super, super strong. Now we're at the Sage Naruto treasure. So we get the Sage Naruto treasure. Sage Naruto with the Earthmane works extremely well because you're going to have two really, really tanky people, but Sage Naruto does a crap ton of damage, right? I don't have Sage Naruto. I can't show you. However, if you have Sage Naruto, you can use him with the Earthmane. Put the Earthmane in the front row somewhere. Give him super armor. Give him his steel body. Put Sage Naruto like in this spot here so that his clone is up here. Then you've got two big tanks in the front right there. You've got the clone that keeps spawning back. Sage Naruto is very tanky. Plus, he does a crap ton of damage. So, between those two, then all you really need to do is add some healing and then like some crowd control into the background. So, again, you can go with Kabuto. You could go with Sakura. You could go with Kurenai. Again, all those people are going to be really good options for you. Because the only thing that really changes with the Sage, the only ninja that actually matters for the Earthmane is the Sage Naruto. So then we come to the Kage treasure, and this is where the Earthmane kind of lacks in the 60 to 70s range. All right, so with the Kage treasure, it's a lot about barriers, and there's a lot of damaging ninja in there. So some of the ninja that you can work with in that. Akatsuchi is a very good option for you. Where is he? Okay, so 5th Kazekage Gaara. Extremely good option. 1, he gives you the barrier. 2, he has super armor, and he does a lot of damage. You could add him with the Earthmane, have the double fortress wall right there. Another thing you could do, if I can ever find Akatsuchi, there he is. Okay, so you could put him behind Gaara and use Akatsuchi. So then you'd have Gaara as a tank. Akatsuchi has his stone golem in there. Akatsuchi generates shields with his standard attack, and then if your Kazekage Gaara's barrier stays up, he generates shields as well. So you've got all the survivability you need between those two. So then what you can do is you can use the scaling version of the Earthmane, where you use like the Taijutsu attack, which is his most damaging attack. And then you use Earth Style Super Stone Fist Jutsu. 1, it gets you even more shields, but then 2, it does some damage. Bottom 4s, use the Primary Lotus. And then Guidance. Because you don't really... Or you could go with Defense Knowledge if you want to increase the tankiness of those two characters right there. And then you're probably going to want more damage with this team just because they're a little bit squishy. So then you could throw in a Kankuro, Great Ninja Kankuro, Guy, Lee, any of the damage options that we've been talking about there. So, all right, so we take those two out. Another character that does really, really well with the Earthmane is Kuratsuchi. Kuratsuchi can single-handedly just screw other teams over, like blitz teams and all that, because her mystery gives them the slowdown effect, which means your whole team gets to go first, and you can like really screw up a blitz team or just any team really with that effect. So if you wanted to use her as like your support character with Akatsuchi and Gaara, that'd be a really, really strong team right there. If you get Onoki and you want to use Onoki for the barrier, you can use something like this. So you've got the Stone Golem as your tank up there. Akatsuchi's generating shields. Kuratsuchi is just fucking the other team over with her slowdown effect. And then she also gets increased ninjutsu for each earth ninja. Cannot speak today. So she's going to get a bunch of extra damage from these guys up in here. Use Steel Body, so you got 2 tanks with the Golem and him. You got the shield generating. You could go with either the Konoha Hurricane or the Petrifying Jutsu, and then again either the Stone Fist Jutsu, or if you want extra attacks, you could go with that. And then Onoki's going to be the main source of your damage here. So, alright, so those guys, that's pretty much all of your options when it comes to the that treasure. Right, let's just check real quick. Okay, so if you have A, use A. Same with Susanoo Sasuke. Both of them are going to be huge damage dealers. So you can use the Earthmane as your tank. Use them as your damage dealers. It'll be, that's all the damage you're going to need. Susanoo Itachi, dude, if you have him, put him in your lineup. Use him as the tank, and then use your Earthmane to buff him. So what you can do actually with him, I mean, this is if you get him. What you could do is go with Super Light and Boulder Jutsu, because you want him attacking as much as possible because he does a crap ton of damage with his basic attack. Use Earth Style Petrifying Jutsu, because then you can give him the extra shields. Use the Defense Knowledge to give him increased defense. I'd probably use Pose of Duel to give him even more damage, because you're going to be giving him the shield all the time. And then, like I said, primary lotus if you can fit it in. Another thing you can do, if you are high enough level and you have this wood style deep forest wall, you could use this, because this is going to give your Susanoo Itachi a ton of shields, right? So then you use that synergizes with Pose of Duel. He's already going to be really tanky, lots of shields going back and forth between those two. Like, you buff him as much as possible if you get him. So we talked about Onoki. I mean, May wouldn't be too bad of a choice. Like, she does a lot of damage. She causes team-wide ignition with her mystery. That's all good. She just doesn't really synergize too well with the team. Like, her barrier does nothing for your team. If you're not worried about the barrier and all you need is damage, throw her in. Use your Earthmane as a tank. Talked about Gaara. Danzo's another one of those characters that just really doesn't fit all that well. Darui, no. Mifune would actually be he'd be a really good option for your damage dealer, because you can use the Earthmane as your tank, put Mifune behind him. Mifune is going to cancel their immunities as well as their shields in the enemy team. Plus, he does a lot of damage with his attacks, and all you got to do is just kind of keep him alive. Use your Earthmane as your tank. You'll be good there. Killer Bee, if you are using Sage Naruto, the way that I was telling you before, with the Earthmane as your tank, Sage Naruto, put Killer Bee into that lineup would actually be very, very helpful, because then he's going to give the shield, and you can allow Sage Naruto to attack twice, which is going to do a lot of damage. So that really wouldn't be that'd be another really good option there. Chojuro, if you need the damage, yes, you're not using him to his full potential because of how he scales with water units, but he attacks twice, he hits pretty hard. Not a bad option. I just think you have better options overall. Okay, so next we go to the Edo Tensei treasure. Now we're looking at reanimated ninja. First and foremost, Mu. Very, very, very strong ninja to use with the Earthmane, because Mu does a lot of damage if his stone golem is still in the lineup. So you can use Mu a couple of ways. You can use Mu kind of like Sage Naruto, right? So put Earthmane up in the front, give him the super armor. You can put Mu here so that his clone goes here, and then you have like that tanky sort of Sage Naruto thing. Or you could use Mu as a damage dealer, put him here, hide his golem behind the Earthmane, and then his mystery hits significantly harder if the golem is still in the lineup. So if you want to use him for the damage, put him back here and hide the golem. If you want to use him for the tankiness, put him here, put the golem up there. He also causes immobile with his chase, which makes him really, really important. It gives the Earthmane something that he kind of lacks for a while, which is crowd control in their chases. So Mu is a great ninja here, especially because he resurrects. So using the Earthmane as a tank and using him just to buff your team between like Petrifying Jutsu and then either this for the shields, this for the big shield, or this for the extra attacks. And then Steel Body, like you could use Bottom Force, you could also use the enhancement, or you could use Pose of Duel. I'd probably use Pose of Duel if you were using... Okay, so I would use Bottom Force if you're going to be attacking with the Earthmane. Otherwise, I would be using Pose of Duel if you want to use Mu as your damage, right? So you give him shields, Pose of Duel gives him extra damage, plus he gets the extra damage. Like, he's a very, very good option. Raza is another good option in the way that Gaara was a really good option. So you could use him the same way that you use Gaara because he has the super armor, and he causes immobile to a large majority of the enemy team with his mystery. He also can cause immobile with his basic attack. So he's got a lot of crowd control. He's somewhat tanky if you can get him at higher than 2-star. However, the problem is he is a super rare, so it's going to be really hard to get him up to 2-star. So what you could do, you could use, all right, so one of the things you could do with this team, you could go with Mu, Mifune, your Earthmane, and then Gaara. If you use, and then like Kazekage Gaara, you use those 4, you got a really, really strong team right there. Tons of damage, tons of tankiness. Your Earthmane and Gaara are generating shields. That's a really good team right there. Again, if you need the healing, you can go with, if you have Great Ninja War Sakura, use her. She'd be really good. You put her right here, and then you get her her slugs that come up, in this part right here. Her slugs are healing people. She does an okay amount of damage. You're keeping Mu alive. Another really good option there. Tsunade is a decent healer. Doesn't really do that much damage. You can use Kurenai again. What else do we have available at this point? Conan, not so much. Datara's a decent option if you just need to add, like, damage over time with his ignition and his debuffs. You could add Datara. If you wanted to go, like, Datara with, like, a healer and then somebody for attack there, or maybe another tank, that would work. Shizune, not so much. Tsunade, like I said, she's not really the best healer for the team. Lee is always a decent choice for damage. 8 Gates Lee, definitely a really good choice. If you have him from one of the... They gave him away for free, so if you have him, he would be a pretty good option here. Yeah, he'd be a really good option. Because you can buff him, and you can also... He scales really well with this Earth-style Super Light and Boulder Juices. And he gets to attack like 4, 5, 6 times a round with that, which is kind of insane. So if you have 8H Lee, use him. He's going to be most of the damage that you could want on the team. So from that point, you put like another tank and then like a healer back there. So between all of that, it should be plenty of damage. Yeah. Okay, so anybody else? Anybody else from the Edo Tensei? Ginkaku and Kinkaku, yeah, but they're not going to really, they're not exactly working out the way that they're not doing too much for you. Snake Cloak Kabuto, very, very rare cases, maybe. Gengetsu is very strong because he can cause poisoning, and he does a good amount of damage. He doesn't synergize perfectly with the team, but again, it's damage. Damage is damage, so that's good. That's about it for the Edo Tensei treasure. So now we're on to the Jinchuriki. Alright, now this is where the Earthmane becomes very, very strong. Once we get to these late stages of the game, this is where the Earthmane starts to really, really shine, because he is no longer used as a tank, and he's now used as a primary support character, because he is quite possibly the best support character in the game. Lots of shields, lots of abilities that can buff certain characters. He keeps characters alive. At this point in the game, we're starting to get a lot of scaling ninja that the longer the battle goes on, the more they scale, the more damage or the tankier they get. So that synergizes perfectly with the Earthmane, because the Earthmane is designed for long battles. He's designed to keep people alive, right? So first and foremost, one of your best options is going to be Roshi, right? If you get Roshi, use him with the Earthmane. It's amazing how well they synergize, right? So Roshi, where is it? So every time he suffers taijutsu damage, one, the enemy gets ignition, which is really good. You're stacking debuffs. But then also, his defense and his ninjutsu increases. So Roshi is a ticking time bomb of damage and tankiness, right? So it's all about keeping Roshi alive. One of the things that you can do is you can put Roshi behind the Earthmane. Not the best thing to do because you kind of want Roshi getting hit often in order to make him scale and cause ignition to the other team. So this would be a better option for you, or you could put your main character back here. But basically, you want Roshi to be getting hit, so you can like put him right there, right? You want Roshi to be getting hit so that he's scaling, but you also need to keep him alive. So you put him up here. He gets the extra life if you're using the ghost kill page, and then you want to use like wood style deep forest, petrifying jutsu, primary lotus if you can. You could give him the earth style enhancement, or you can go with, I would probably say pose of duel, so that Roshi scales even harder. He gets the additional ninjutsu. And then defense knowledge would be that'd be great right there. If you're going up against a blitz team, you can use earth style boulder jutsu, and that'll give you the extra shield right off the bat to keep Roshi alive. Then you've got shield, you've got extra ninjutsu and attack with a scaling ninjutsu, and then you have bonus defense and resistance with scaling defense. Like, that is really, really strong. At this point in the game, it kind of turns into who has the stronger, like, one character. Like, there's, like, at this point in the game, you basically start building your team around one character, right? So you start getting these super overpowered ninja. It's all about keeping them alive, okay? It's all about keeping them alive and allowing them to completely obliterate the enemy team. Roshi is one such character as that. So then around this, you need to put in even more support for Roshi. So you could go with Great Ninja War Sakura for the healing. You could go with Kabuto for the healing. And he's not as good at this stage in the game. You could put in Mu, because Mu, if he dies, he resurrects. So it's not too big of a deal. If you have Cursed Hidan, use Cursed Hidan. Again, he comes back to life. He's a ton of damage. That's also good. 8 Gates Lee, that would be amazing right there. Scaling ninjutsu and damage with the ignition. Tons of damage between him. Like, that's really, really strong. And then just put in healing back there, and you're good to go. Great Ninja War Sakura, Sailor Sakura, really good idea because she can heal and removes all the debuffs. That's really strong as well. Okay, so any of these characters. Yukito, she causes team-wide ignition, but Roshi kind of takes care of that. So if you don't have Roshi, you could use your Earth Main as your tank and then go with Yukito. Fu, if you want to run a full Jinchuriki team, she's good in the beginning. However, she's kind of more for blitz teams right off the bat. So with the Earth Main, it doesn't really work out that well. You could still use Sage Naruto with this team. Put Sage Naruto like here, so you've got the clone and you've got Roshi. Then you're gonna have all the damage you would need there. Add a healer, you're good to go. Put your healer back here behind Sage Naruto. What else do we got? Utakata. If you want to stack poisoning, sure. I think you're gonna have enough debuffs with the ignition here, and you want to just kind of keep him alive. And Utakata doesn't really do anything to buff Roshi to keep him alive, so you can, but it's not the best. Let's see here. You can always still use Gaara, of course. You could use, I wouldn't say to use Onoki because Roshi's going to get rid of the barrier. Lee and Guy Sensei, both very strong ninjas still at this point. Guy because he gives you the lifesteal. But like I said, you're probably already going to have enough. You could use Akatsushi, like there, to give the... one, he adds more shields, which again is helping to keep Roshi alive. Especially because Roshi is immune to debuffs. Really, the only thing you have to do is just keep shielding him and he won't die. So, adding that, or adding Akatsuchi is a very good idea. And then like a healer back in there, that's really strong as well. Great Ninja War Kiba, he's an alright tank. Doesn't really buff. He doesn't really do anything to support Roshi though, so... Like I said, at this point, you want to just try and support Roshi as much as possible. Now, let's say you have Han. Han doesn't really deal any damage, right? He's really tanky. He doesn't really deal a lot of damage. So you want to use your Earth Main as your damage dealer for that, like I said, with the bottom four, so you Taijutsu attack, Super Stone Fist Jutsu, or you could go with Super Lightened Boulder Jutsu if you had like Lee. You can go with like that, right? That'd be a really strong. You had a great tank who gets rid of their shields and their buffs, and then you have 8 Gates Lee, and then your main character. You could add either healing, or you put another tank up here, or you could use him as a tank and then add another damage dealer like Mifune down there. I mean, that'd be great. Okay, so Ultimate Windblade, not so much. Like I said, the Earthmane really doesn't do all that well with Blitz teams. Hashirama, if you have him, I mean, you can use him. He works out really well with any of the teams that I've mentioned. That's fine. Kabuto is a really strong healer. Yukon and Sakon are kind of like a discount 8 Gates Lee. Like, they scale and can do a lot of damage. If you threw in, like, Yukon Sakon and then Kabuto, and then you could use either Gara there, or you could use your main character as your tank. Kabuto to help them. 1, give them lifesteal. 2, to help them scale. Good idea. Aruka's always strong if you're using Konoha Ninja. However, once you get to the Jinchuriki, you're probably not going to be using them as much. Sage Jiraiya does a lot of damage. Hidan does a lot of damage. Both are okay. I wouldn't use Kakazu. Hanzo, he cancels debuffs. 1 layer of debuffs from everybody on the team, and he causes a lot of poisoning. So you could go with... You put Roshi, go with the buffing version of the Earthmane. Hanzo, and then like a healer. You got a lot of debuffs, you got a lot of damage. That's a pretty decent team. Like I said, Mu, very strong option for you. Guy is good because he gives you the lifesteal. He helps out a lot. Itachi is okay. Kurenai is good if you're going with a buffing style team to buff one particular character. Akatsuchi, Neji, he's good early. Like I said, Gara, Kankuro is good for damage. Onoki's good for damage. Wouldn't really use Tsunade unless you have to. There are better healing options. Datara is good for the damage over time, like I said, with the debuffs. Alright, so let's go here. Look at the ninja that I don't have. Like I said, Raza is a very strong ninja to have if you can get him up to 3 stars, so he's a little bit tanky. Gengetsu is good. Nagato is always good. The Masked Man, if you were able to get him, he's very strong. You can add him as your support character, right? So his support character, he causes the immobile with his chase and with his mystery, plus he does a lot of damage with his chase. That's good. Like I said, if you have Itachi Susano, use him. Buff the crap out of him as much as you can. Use your Earthmane strictly as a support character. Again, same kind of with A. A is pretty much all the damage you're going to need. Mifune works out really well with the team. Jigokudo is never really a bad option because he can bring people back to life, although he gets... people target him a lot. If you get Edo Tensei Datara, use Edo Tensei Datara. Use your Earthmane as a tank that supports him, and then just keep Edo Tensei Datara alive so he can do all of the damage in the world, because that's what he does. That's all he does is damage. Jonin Minato, another really, really strong option here. And like I said, it's all about, at this point in the game, once you get to the late game, it's all about having one ninja that just scales into oblivion that can annihilate the entire team and keeping him alive. So if you use Flak Jacket Minato, Jonin Minato, whatever you want to end up calling him, use the Earthmane as your support character. Give him shields. Especially, you're definitely going to want to use the Earth-style lightened jutsu that gives him 2 attacks, because then you want Minato, who already scales with a ton of damage, you want him attacking as many times as possible. And then he can get to the point where he's using his mystery every single turn. Like, that's a really, really strong team right there. Just keep him alive. Put 3 ninja in, or 2 other ninja that are going to help keep Minato alive. All the damage you're going to need. 5th Hokage Tsunade is a great healer if you can get her. Hokage Minato, he's alright. You can use him as damage. 3rd Hokage, not so much. Tobirama, not so much. Beheading Sword, Kakashi, Beheading Sword, and Zabuza, Miss 7 Swordsman, both Yeah, okay. Edo Tensei, Haku, not so much. No. Sage Mode Naruto, yeah, like I said. Seiwa Sakura is a good healer, and then Susanoo Sasuke if you have him. Oh, there's also, so I don't know if you saw the fight between Memo and I believe it was AP. I forget who he fought, but he used, where is it? Okay. Yeah. The Nine-Tails Chakra Naruto, except once you get him up to 4-star, so he's the 6-tail version, he starts dealing a crap ton of damage. And so basically what the guy that Memo was fighting did was he used the Earth Main and like Aruka and Hashirama. Basically just an entire team that was going to buff that one ninja. And the 4-tail version of, or the 6-tail version of this Naruto Nine-Tails cloak completely cleaned house. Like it single-handedly killed Memo's whole team, just one after another. So he would use, for that he used the Earth Style Super Light and Boulder Jutsu to get it to attack twice, because the 6 tails does a ton of damage, so you want to attack as many times as possible. Petrifying Jutsu to keep giving him the shield. Positive Duel to increase their his attack and defense, and then pretty sure he used either defense knowledge or guidance. I'm not sure. I would assume defense knowledge to keep him alive longer. But so that's basically what you want to do with your Earth Mains. You want to get one of these really, really strong, overpowered characters that scales and that does a crap ton of damage, and just use your entire lineup to keep them alive so that they are just getting to the point where they're one-shotting the enemy team. And that's what you can do with Roshi. Roshi is like the easiest ninja that you can get for that purpose. You've got Roshi, you've got the 6-tails version of Naruto, Itachi Susanoo, and Itachi or Sasuke Susanoo. All of them do a lot of damage, and you just got to keep them alive and just let them just keep doing as much damage as possible. So yeah, I think I have covered everything. This video's drug on for a while. These always take a really long time because I try and be super, super thorough about it. So hopefully I don't talk too long and this is actually like cohesive and understandable for everybody, but there's a lot that I have to cover. I got to cover, from level 1 all the way up through level 95, every single ninja that's in the game, whether or not they're going to work with your guy or not. So hopefully this guide helped you out. My throat's starting to get a little scratchy. That's how I know it's time to stop. Anyway, tried to cover everything that I possibly could. Hopefully I got everything. I don't think I missed anything, but if I did, leave a comment down below. Any questions, leave a comment down below. I'll try and help you out with them. Please don't ask what lineup should I use when you just watched a 40-minute video about the whole lineup stuff. But yeah. So anyway, like I said, I hope this helps you guys out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This takes a lot of work to make. I'm trying to finish all the mains, but like I said, it does take a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff I got to think about to get these done, and then it takes forever to render these because they're so long. But like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button down below. If somehow you are still watching to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching the entire thing. It really means a lot to me, and it really helps out my channel when you watch a whole video from start to finish with the whole YouTube algorithm. So thank you so much to the very few of you who have stuck around for this long. I really, really appreciate it a lot. So anyway, guys, I hope you all have a great day, and peace.